This world is such a, and when I say this world, I mean it. I don't mean an ideal sense.
I swear, man, we got the ghost of Pac in the studio right now.
It's such a, gimme. Step, crush.
They try to stop me, man.
Look.
Everybody back off.
Put me down, try and put me down. I'ma hit him up like an outlaw. Combination, hit him with a southpaw. Knock him out in the first round, y'all. Voice of my city like town hall. Round more pounds than stray dogs. I can make it flood in a drought, y'all. Never gon' settle. All I do is get better. All I do is get cheddar. Pulling up, blowing pressure. Outlaw shit forever.
Please believe it, please. You are tuned in to another edition of the Outlaw Show. Of course, I'm your guy, EDI, and it is my pleasure this afternoon to welcome one of hip-hop's OGs, if you will. Seen a lot, been around a lot, has accomplished a lot. Very accomplished. We're going to get into all of that, but let's cut to the chase. P. Frank is in the building.
What's up, you, baby? How you doing?
How you doing, sir?
Edie.
Yes.
The legend. How you feeling, man?
I feel great. And one of the reasons I feel great is because I'm sitting amongst another legend. And you're a legend in the hip-hop world, on the literary side, on the, the journalistic side. Let's just run down the accomplishments let's just get that out the way.
Let's get that out the way. Okay.
Started with the Source.
LA Times, actually.
Started with the LA Times.
Before that, yeah.
Before the Source.
Yeah.
Went on to become, I'm a fast track, but went on to become an editor of the Source. Has interviewed a virtual who's who as far as hip hop, but of course in general, but specifically hip hop.
Yes, sir. It's been a journey.
It's been a journey, and now he's producing and directing as well. A lot of shows you've already seen, you've already probably enjoyed. This man has been a part of.
Right.
So, again, it's my pleasure to be sitting amongst another legend.
It's all good, my brother.
In this game, and we're gonna pick his brain. We're gonna get into his business. We're gonna try to get some stories out of him that he's never told before. We're gonna go for the full Monty.
I love it.
You know how we do here at the Outlaw Show. So, Pete, let's just start at the beginning. Oakland, California.
Yes, sir.
What about Oakland, California prepared you for this life that you live right now?
Well, I mean, you obviously know, you and I have talked about you moving to Oakland and coming to Oakland in the 90s.
Yes, indeed.
When Pac, was first getting it cracking, end of the 80s, early 90s. Growing up in Oakland, I think is really like informed who I am as a human being, not just what I do, because I think Oakland is a weird place where it's very street and hood and kind of thugged out. But also very political and very smart.
Absolutely.
And very progressive. The Black Panthers, the Hells Angels, the Raiders, the A's, Felix Mitchell, all of the things. Too Short. It's very like, they got pimps and hoes and they got, power to the people. So, it's a wild place.
It's a nice balance in Oakland, man.
And obviously musically, we come from a tradition of, Tower of Power and Sheila E. and all of the, great people, Tony. You know what I'm saying? Too Short. E40's from the Bay. So I think being from the Bay Area, like, and the hustle, we out the trunk. We wasn't waiting for, like, I never was, like, waiting for somebody to come give me an opportunity. Because you see 40, you see, Souls of Mischief, you see people like that came out, even Percy, even Master P. Yeah. He started and got his hustle from where?
No doubt, the Bay Area.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just always town business, no matter where I go or what I do. Oakland is my path through.
And you got that hustler spirit, P, because your name is in so many credits, man. You don't let the grass grow under your feet, man. Yeah. And I'm always inspired by that as well when I see you moving and doing different things. So just jumping around, you said earlier you going from producing to actually directing now as well. Yeah. And that's a part of that hustle spirit. Let's go back, though, in the 90s. Some of the things you've seen as hip-hop started to emerge. Let's talk about some of the guys that you saw coming up from out of the Bay Area, like the Too Shorts, the E40s, and that independent spirit. What did you notice that the rest of the country didn't notice at that time?
Well, I think for me, even though I started working at the Source, I graduated from Oakland High, and then I went to San Diego State, whereas I went to undergrad. Then I was fortunate, I went to school in New York at Columbia journalism school, so I got a really great education about how to like really do serious journalism. and worked at the Source part-time as I was at the LA Times and started freelancing. But, I think just seeing the West Coast emerge and being a proponent of it, and I mean, at a time when you was doing it, nobody wanted to put the West Coast on the radio. I remember being in New York in the early 90s. They didn't want to fucking Too Short can't rap. He ain't got no lyrics. He's whack. E40, he sound stupid. I mean, I heard all kind of crazy shit.
They used to go on Hammer. You know what I mean?
Yes, all of us. And they wouldn't play us on the radio, right? They barely even let us I was at the Grammys when they wouldn't even barely let us in the press room.
Wow.
Right? And now everybody is hip-hop. Before that, they barely, the night Method Man, and he won for the You're All I Need to Get By. And so he was like, fuck the Grammys, right? Because they didn't want to put us on TV. Will Smith boycotted. And so just seeing how much we progressed from being a fad to really getting the love, you know what I mean? And it's funny because that night, Method Man, he was boycotting the show when he had the song with Mary J. And I was in a limo with him that night, me and my girl, Kim Norsworthy. This one he was at Def Jam. It's got to be like 95. Because I got a poster on my wall of it. And because he signed it that night. And take a guess what happened that night when he boycotted.
He won.
He won, of course he did. Yes, of course he did. And so he was bitching and complaining.
The law of attraction, ladies and gentlemen.
And so, but I think that for us, it's a trip to see Elle being the host, you know what I mean, the Grammys, and just seeing Nicki Minaj and
Queen Latifah with a show on CBS.
Exactly what I'm saying. I've seen the progression of it from like a novelty, you know what I mean? When we would, you and I have been in that a long time. When it was on KPOO or something like that in the Bay Area, like 2-3 hours on the weekend.
Yeah.
Friday to Saturday, or so you might catch it. So
I tell people all the time when I first moved to Atlanta in the early '90s, they would take the rap part out of a song. Like, let's say they had a rap part, they would take that out. V103 used to do that. You know what I mean? Shout out to Greg Street. And they used to take the rap part out of the song. They wouldn't even play rap, like you said, in the daytime.
Right.
The sun had to go down to listen to rap, and to see where it's at now, it really is amazing.
Well, I mean, for us, it's the predominant art form on the planet, right?
By far.
And so it's just a trip for how they inserted, the shows that I do now on really white mainstream networks who would have never even thought of doing that. 50 went from getting shot 9 times to being one of the biggest producers in television, and that's still hip hop, right?
And that is absolutely hip hop.
I want to make sure people understand that that's still hip hop, which is hip hop means, by the way, taking something from nothing and making it into something. Whatever it is, whether you're a DJ, whether you're a B-boy, whether you're a graph artist, as in your case, MC, hip-hop means to take all
That's how I started, literally. You know what I mean? 2 turntables, microphone, mama's records, you know what I mean? And making something out of nothing. And you've done that your whole career. You're on to a new project right now with 50 Cent. Since you brought him up, let's get into that. Because I want to talk about, the name of it is Hip Hop Murders.
Hip Hop Homicides.
Hip Hop Homicides. And, of course, unfortunately, I know a lot about that.
Right.
It continues to happen. Your thoughts on why it continues to happen, or is this just life? And people, and like Cameron said, and Pay the Fool, niggas get shot every day, B. Or is this something about hip hop? Is it a conspiracy? Your thoughts? Is it conspiracy?
It's very problematic because I think, hip hop is connected to street culture. And this show started, by the way, because 50, obviously himself got shot, right? And then he was very close to Pop. And when Pop got shot, he was suspicious about sort of how it happened. He still was very suspicious about Chris Lighty. And so he went to Mona, and Mona Scott Young, who's a producer on the show, was like, yo, we need to do a show about dead rappers. And so it turned into a 1-hour true crime show, sort of looking at their lives and trying to like tell who they are and as well understand the culture. So, as a person, I know for you who experienced a lot of grief in this, and, me knowing all of the different people that we know that have gotten killed and shit, the regular people in my regular life, that ain't Tupac Shakur or fucking Biggie Smalls or Christopher Wallace or whatever. You can't take the streets from the music. The streets is what fueled it. The anger, the poverty, the violence, all of that. And a lot of times I think hip hop is one of the few things where real life is actually in the music and you can't separate it. So if you talk shit about me, I was like, yo, Edie, you said so. I'm gonna see you, right? Whereas rock and roll, they could talk shit about each other, do whatever. Country singers, the bitches don't like each other. They can still whatever, but there's never no, So I don't think that it will change. And I think, unfortunately, as I've been doing this show, I will tell you, we did episode King Von, FBG Duck. We're going to go do Soldier Slim and some other people. the internet has made it worse, in my opinion. If the shit that they do was doing it when we was sort of doing it in the early 90s, whatever happened to Pac or Big or whoever, Stretch or whoever, they antagonize each other on record way more than hit 'em up. They are like talking about smoking on their ops. Like, I'm a haunt you in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even and it's daily because you can get on social media every day, all day.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In the 90s, there was only but so many records you could put out at a time. You know what I mean? But with social media, you're 100% right. You can antagonize your op every day, all day, and you know what I mean? And
it's unfortunate because I believe I was with Fabio Foreign in New York, and we were talking, and Fabio Foreign obviously is a new young artist from Brooklyn drill music, which Pop Smoke came from, and he was friends with Pop. And he was like, the rapper is the #1 targeted man on the planet. And you see Tekashi antagonizing it. You see Pop counting the money, and you see what happened to him, the guy showing him internet, the flashiness and all of that cost him his life, right? This is this is not the bullshit. I'm telling you the real shit. So to me, if you ask me why Hip Hop Homicides will have 100 episodes, is because we haven't addressed the real problem. When I was in Chicago, I went to where King Von had his mural and talked to a pastor who knew him and a dude who allegedly shot Duck, and just, it's the cycle of poverty. It's black on black hatred, it's violence, it's lack of fathers. I mean, if you want to get into the real part and not just some rap shit, that's the real problem. That's why you're going to continue to have people die.
It's a multitude of reasons why this shit continue to happen. You know what I mean? Also, it's not enough mentors, OGs or whatever, solid, reputable cats that can talk to the younger artists and get them to actually listen, especially when the millions of dollars start coming in.
But I'm going to ask you a question, because I usually don't be giving interviews like this. So it's funny because I was thinking about you when I was driving over here, and I was with Ice-T, and Ice told me one time that Pac played Hit 'Em Up for him, came to his house. I don't know if you was with him or whatever he said.
Yeah, Ice-T told me the story, and I was there.
You was there.
Yeah.
You was there. Yeah. And so he said that you guys played Hit 'Em Up for him, right? Mm-hmm. And that he told you that's not a good idea. What happened, and why did you guys not listen?
I wasn't privy to the conversation him and Pac had, because it was at Ice's house, and Pac had went up there to do a feature for Ice-T.
Okay.
And in the process of that, he played him the song.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I remember Ice-T's body language, but I couldn't hear what they was talking about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so I don't know if he told Pac that wasn't a good idea or not.
He told me. He said he told Pac.
Yeah, what I mean is I didn't hear him say that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm sure he's not lying or whatever, but Pac at 24 years old, you know what I mean? And any of these, that's why I said somebody that they'll listen to when the money and everything comes in. But at that point in the game, Pac was pretty much set in stone on what he wanted to do. Nobody was going to talk him off of that ledge, you know what I mean?
But it's a trip down, because one of the big questions that I'm asking on the show that I'm doing now, can the music cause violence?
I don't, the violence is already there. The music is just the soundtrack to the violence. I really, truly believe that, because even early in Pac's career, when he would do shows and fights would break out, it wasn't like we went there to, tell people to, let's do this. We wasn't telling, Pac's actually the contrary to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially early in his career. I just think, like you said, we have culturally, you know what I mean? We come from warriors, and that switch is not off, and it's not well directed, and we don't have it anywhere to direct it to. Times has changed, but it's internal and it's cultural.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you get a lot of dudes in one room and testosterone and.
But I think the other part, the beauty of the show that I'm doing, is getting the three-dimensional part about whether it be King Von or XXXTentacion or Ryan Melly or whoever, because I think we're usually just put in a box as like dumb rapper, street dude. It's funny, one of the dudes, his name is FBG Duck. He was killed in Chicago, right in like the Beverly Hills of Chicago on the Gold Coast, and so he was killed in the middle of the day. But imagine somebody getting killed on Rodeo Drive. That's a well-known rapper at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's crazy.
You know what's going to happen on the news. They're going to immediately. And so what happened was Lori Lightfoot, the mayor, went on the news media immediately. This is an aberration. He's not a rapper. She had to make sure that the people saw that this was a dangerous dude. He deserved it, basically. And I think a lot of times people think, well, they deserved it, right? And they don't understand that these people have family members, mothers, kids, that these are human beings or young dudes trying to use the music to get ahead. So that's a part of my deal, is always to try to humanize people in our culture, whether it be some of the shows we've done together or whatever. I just want to make sure that that's a part of it,
And speaking of the shows that we did it together, we did. I was a part of Who Killed Tupac that you produced.
Correct. On A&E.
On A&E.
Ice-T, and Soledad O'Brien.
Soledad O'Brien, absolutely.
Which aired on Fox, yeah.
Which aired on Fox, and one of the things that it attempted to do was solve it.
Yes.
In hip-hop homicides, is that another thing you guys are trying to do?
Necessarily. I think a lot of the cases, Pop Smoke, they know who shot him. King Von, it's on camera who shot King Von. But I think it's also to see why it happened and get to the root of it, or if there's stuff that you don't know about it. And a lot of people think thing was a gang hit, or that it was some other reason. And so we make sure we tell the real reason of whatever we find. The show is hosted by Van Lathan from TMZ. So Van is sort of taking you on the journey, finding this information. So he is the on-camera host. And so
future guest of the Outlaw show. He sat right there.
He told me that. And so we're heading out this week, and that's my baby brother. And so, the reason why I'm still here 27 years later from the first article in the Source is just, I just want to make sure I stay true to the culture. The shit that I had when I had the little cardboard in '82, when I would bring that to junior high school lunch, and we put it on the little cardboard right here at lunchtime, and we cut it out from the grocery store and try to backspin, and I had a little up rock that was kind of savage.
Go ahead, man. Can we get some footage of Frank up rocking?
That's with the full Jerry curl right there. That's the California curl, Edie.
No doubt.
What you know about it? What you know? Yeah.
Hey, man, we're going to find out and more here on the Outlaw Show, sitting here with P. Frank, hip-hop OG. Be right back.
Everybody back off.
Put me down, try and put me down. I'ma hit him up like an outlaw. Combination, hit him with a southpaw. Knock him out in the first round, y'all. Voice of my city like town hall. Round more pounds than stray dogs. I can make it flood in a drought, y'all. Never gon' settle. All I do is get better. All I do is get cheddar. Pulling up, blowing pressure. Outlaw shit forever.
Please believe it, please. You're back. It's the Outlaw Show. Having a great conversation here in the Man Cave.
Yeah, the Man
My
Cave.
brother P.
Edie
Frank.
Cave.
Yeah, this is the Edie Cave.
The Edie Cave. You got Kobe up in here. You still rocking that Lakers shit, huh? You still going with it.
You know it. I see you sitting over there with that Oakland. That Oakland Warriors. First of all, it's not the Oakland Warriors. They're the San Francisco Warriors.
I don't know what you talking about.
Because they play in Frisco.
Raiders. Yeah, Oakland A's. I have no idea what you mean. Know what you talking about. Yeah.
The guy's looking good.
Yeah.
You know what? That boy Jordan Poole is something special.
Yeah. We found a little jewel. Yeah. Steph gave up a little paper early to make sure we kept the little core. And so we played it right. Unlike LeBron.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw LeBron in his little boxer shorts in the Maldives. He wasn't on no TV playing no games, Edie. But we'll be playing tomorrow, by the way.
Hey, if anybody deserves a little vacation, it's LeBron.
I'm not mad at you.
King James.
All good.
So, salute to your guys. Y'all got y'all handful next round.
We good.
Yeah. Y'all good?
Challenge. Young people, it's always good to see the new generation.
Can we get a prediction?
Warriors in 6.
Warriors in 6.
Yeah, Warriors versus Suns.
That easy.
Finals. Now, the finals, the Western Conference, I'm not sure about that. Everything else before that, I think we have enough talent, experience, and depth to win. And
I will say this.
Let me say this to you, because you have this. You have what's called championship DNA. You know what that means?
Appreciate that. Yeah. I've won some chips and been around some champions. Yeah, y'all got championship DNA, 100%. That's why I believe if y'all make it to Phoenix, y'all gonna beat them in 7 games, and it'll be the Warriors. It'll be the Warriors versus Milwaukee. Yeah. That's my prediction.
That's a good prediction. That's a good prediction.
So off camera, we was chatting about your old boss.
Only God is my boss. Jesus and my grandmother.
Well,
the
former CEO.
Yes.
Whatever his position was, that was always under a lot of discrepancy over the years what he actually did at the Source. But Ray Benzino, man, his name has been all over the place of late. Of course, his daughter is blown up. Coyle Ray is blown up. She doesn't want anything to do with him. Benzino come at you tomorrow. He wants to reboot the Source. He wants you as an editor. You doing it?
Shout out to Benzino. God bless you. If Benzino told me where the bathroom was at down the hall, I would go the other way.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just with Dave Mays, who was the owner of the Source.
Shout out to Dave Mays.
Shout out to Dave, and it's good to see Dave. I saw him in Chicago, and we talked. And at the Source, it was a really beautiful thing because we were the first real chronicles of the culture.
Oh man, I read every issue of the Source.
And I think the thing that we did the most, which nobody has ever done since then, Double XL, different people have did it after us, even Vibe. We captured the culture from the inside out, not from an outside in perspective, meaning we told it for people who loved it and actually lived it and wasn't good and bad. We covered some of the good things, a lot of the bad things too, and let our artists speak for themselves. But Benzino, you ever have that little brother or cousin that just be on the block just yelling and just want to get into shit, start shit, and just yell for attention and do whatever? When we was at the Source, I think the Source would have been where Complex is at and all of that if not for Ray Benzino. Wow. So I think he's a really not very smart person. I think that he was in a negative situation with Dave, and Dave protected him for many years, and sort of whatever way Dave used him, he was a cancerous person. And I think that today you're seeing, just like Suge, I think you're seeing karma happen to him, and I think he's an insecure dude. I'm not gonna get into whatever naming, but you see from his behavior why he ended up the way he did. And it was at the magazine. Sometimes he couldn't pay for articles because he was out trying to get a Ferrari. And me and him always had a fight at the fucking UP, the taping of the Source Awards. I produced the Source Awards and wrote the Source Awards in 2009, 2001, around there. And that's when we had to fight on stage with Snoop and Suge and all them, because we was at the show and I'm on the stage.
I was there.
And he was there. And so, yeah, he was there. And so
there was a couple fights that year.
I think that was when Earl had a fight too in the front, right?
Absolutely, with Mac Minister. And so on one side, all the Suge's dudes in the Death Row shirts run on the side of the stage, and there's Dog, Snoop, and all of them, and then they start fighting in the middle of the stage. And we were just like, oh my God, it went crazy. And then I had to try to go fix the show later. But I'm saying that night, I think it was that night. Was it that night? Or the night, a couple nights, whatever the year that was, that Monique was the host. We went back to the parking lot. It was me, Benzino, F. Gary Gray. Me and Dave was just talking about this. And UPN was like, well, how do we fix the show? Because we had taped it, but we had stopped in the middle of the show, so we didn't finish the rest of it, because there was a whole half of the show. I was about to go on stage and give Dre a 5 mic award. I went to Dre's house, because when the Chronic 2001 came out, I gave it 4.5 mics in the Source, and I always regretted it. And we always knew that we had fucked up. Like, the 5 mics in the Source was a big deal, And so when the show happened, I was in a parking lot. It was me, Benzino, F. Gary Gray, one of the guys from UPN, Dave, and then we got into a whole big thing, and me and Bray almost got into a fight that night. And all of the Made Men dudes was like, yo, trying to protect him, because he's like a little penguin, right? You ever seen a penguin? With little arms that flap like this? And they kind of like the little fat little body. Look at Benzino's body. And so, I wish him love and whatever success, but I'm sure he likes women and men. That's obviously he can finally say it, huh? I mean, that's it. Apparently, that is what the young person said about Benzino.
Yes, that she said about him.
Yeah. Who recorded him and had his voice on tape, and yeah.
I wish him positivity. Without the Source, I would have got nowhere. So thank you for the Source. But in terms of him, and me and Dave have reconciled, and Dave apologized to me, because Dave told me one time, he was like, because a couple times I was, one day I'll talk about it, but I think the Source documentary and movie, I've seen Benzino say a lot of crazy shit to people. And I was walking out of the Source office 2000 or so, and the FBI called me, right? And they're like, hello? I'm like, hello? They're like, yeah, is this Frank Williams? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, this is such and such agent. We're investigating such and such and whatever. Because the Source, there was a raid at the Source, and they took a bunch of documents, and Benzino had got, you have to look for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so,
I remember it.
And I was like, I didn't get into this for this shit.
Right.
I tell little stories about the rappers. I'm not here to fucking be testifying.
Right.
And I kept the street. When I went there, I was like, I don't remember. I can't recall. What day was that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But shout out to Benzino.
Yeah, well, that's P. Frank on Benzino. But speaking of the Source, this is a personal question I always wanted to ask somebody at the Source.
Okay.
Is there, because you brought up the Chronic And how you felt it deserves 5 mics.
I wrote, if I remember correctly, I think I wrote the article, whatever year that was.
And it got 4.5.
Yes.
Is there any other albums you felt like the Source should have gave 5 mics that y'all didn't? Because 5 mics was tough to get in the Source.
I think Eminem didn't get it for the first one, but then he got it for the second one. I can't remember. Eminem's one. And was it the first Outkast got 5, and then the Aquemini didn't? There's a Tribe Called Quest album in there that should have gotten it. I'm pretty sure both Biggie albums got it. Not Nelly. I'm trying to think. There was about a few when I was there, because I was at the Source. I started freelancing in '95, and I left officially like around 2001, 2002. But I'm trying to think about it in my time. There's always a few. You know, the craziest story, again, for your funny Benzino, the Source, how we did the mics, by the way, just for people who don't know in the world, everybody get the same album. The album goes around to the whole staff. You get like a little box. You could say if it's 3.5 mics, 4 mics, whatever else. You check off your thing, and then it comes all the way back around, and we average them all up together, and that's what the mic rating is. Every now and then, somebody would intercede or whatever. If Dave was doing whatever with Master P or Puff or Jay, you know, then sometimes things would change, you know, because when money's involved, you know, I'm not saying, you know, but there was times.
Talk that shit, P.
There was a couple of mics added or half or here and there because of other things going on. It's funny, one night I was in the studio, whenever the Jay-Z album, September 11th or whatever that album is that the Blueprint? Or whatever that album with Jay-Z's came out on September 11th. Yeah,
he dropped the same day the Towers dropped. I think that's
Blueprint. And so we had been in it, because with you know, they would let you listen to the album before, like a few months before, then we'd write about it. That's how we knew before it came out. We were trying to time it when it came out, we were writing a thing. So I was in the studio, it was me, Hove, Dame, I think it was Selwyn, who's the editor of the Source. At the time I was executive editor or something like that. And and Dame was in there. And you know, Dame is, everybody knows Dame Dash. And so Dame is, you know, doing the whole, you motherfuckers at the Source, you dumbass college writers, y'all don't know what the fuck is going on. If you don't give this 5 mics, y'all dumb as hell, you fucking dummies, and just cursing us out. And Ho was just there, just chilling, you know what I mean, and not really, you know, it's your music, and you want people to listen to it. He's seeing how we react, and even if he's Jay-Z, he still wants to know that people likes it.
Right.
Yeah, and so, you know, there's certain times when I think we got it right, a few times when we didn't. You know, Chronic 2001, I think, was a really good example.
I always felt like Me Against the World deserved 5 mics.
What did you guys get?
He got 4.
4. Well, I'll say this. Sometimes you don't know how good things are until you listen to it a few years later.
And I was going to say, Me Against the World, and Pac as a whole, as an artist, his shit, it grows in impact over time.
Right.
You know, I
would say this, though.
It may not get you right out the gate for some people.
But musically, the first album, Me Against the World is better. The music hadn't caught up to his lyrics yet.
Nah.
Right, and you know that.
And it met up on Me Against the World.
But it got there, yeah. And obviously, All Eyes on Me is the volcano where the best beats in the world connect with him at the highest of his craft. You know?
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, that's the Source, man. It's the Outlaw Show. We chopping it up with P. Frank. We're gonna come back and we're gonna do a little bit of trading war stories with P.
Trading war stories.
We're gonna get something. He done told us some epic shit already, but we're gonna see if we can get another one.
That's probably the tequila talking over there. Hilarious.
It's the Outlaw Show, y'all.
Look,
Everybody back off.
put me down, try and put me down. I'ma hit him up like an outlaw. Combination hit him with a southpaw. Knock him out in the first round, y'all. Voice of my city like town hall. Round more pounds than stray dogs. I can make it flood in a drought, y'all. Never gon' settle. All I do is get better. All I do is get cheddar. Pulling up, blowing pressure. Outlaw shit forever.
It's the Outlaw Show. We back. Great conversation going on with P. Frank. Getting some great stories in the 90s and getting his opinion on hip-hop as it stands today. But you know how we do right about this time, man. My favorite part of the show, trading war stories. we're gonna get P. Frank to give us something salacious. Something he's never
I don't know if I'm gonna do all of that. But
Salacious.
I don't like that word.
Before,
That's
or
like
if he's never told or wrote about before. Only the Outlaw Show can do this. This is exclusive. P. Frank.
Yes, sir.
Do tell.
Do tell. I'm not sure what this trading war stories means, but
Well, Trading Stories is the part of the show where we ask our guests to give an outrageous story, some they've never shared with anybody before, some unbelievable, some that have had people going, what the fuck did I just listen to? As best you can. And all we ask is you don't incriminate yourself or anybody else.
don't incriminate myself or anybody else.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to go to court, man. I'm not trying to be subpoenaed.
That's a good one. Funny, let's see some funny stories. Well, our trades war stories. There's one infamous one. I think that's a little crazy. I'm gonna give you two quick ones. The first one obviously involves Marion, Sugar Bear, Suge Knight, and it's the Source cover from 2000, whatever. Because when Suge and Pac situation happened, Suge went to jail on a probation violation. Remember that? And so he went to jail after that, I think for about 5 years. Yeah. And so the article, when he first came out of jail, I wrote that article.
Okay.
And so I went to Mule Creek prison in San Luis Obispo, and I interviewed him. And so it's funny because I was with Reggie, and me and Reggie met in the parking lot.
Reggie Wright Jr.
And
former head of security.
Right. And so Reggie's there, me and Reggie. And so he had to put me on the list. And so once I get to the, and actually you got to go through the day, like the little security. And so, and I had a notebook, but I had a recorder. They wouldn't let the recorder in, and they wouldn't let my notebook in because it had spiral. They thought it could be used as a weapon. So I got to the day room, and I get and sit there. So I have no notebook, nothing. I took some paper towels from the vending machine. That's how I wrote my notes, with the little pencil like that, the little number 2 pencil. Yeah. So I ended up having that. They gave me that. Because that was Oakland. And so when I got to the day room where the vending machines is at, I don't know how many people have been to jail, but this is a true story. And so, if you've been in jail or whatever. And so
to the BI room.
Yeah, BI room. And so I sit down and take a guess who's at the table. It's Miss Chalet. Miss Chalet was married to Suge at the time, and that's how he got a lot of his paperwork done. He had her sign stuff, and this is. I'm sure people know some of this, but
they have a child together.
And so they were married legally. And so that's how he was doing the business of death row while he was in jail. And so I sat down, I had Lucia, that's when I had hair, and I had a little twist, and she was like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, I'm the writer. I'm the writer from the Source. She's like, oh, you don't look like no writer, because that little twist, I look like more of a G and shit. And so she's like, what up? And we start talking, and then, Suge comes out. He's on crutches at the time. When people remember, he had got hurt really bad. And, it was good to see him, but it was really, he was still in such a negative place that even when I wrote it, I was trying to protect him, but at the same time, he hadn't learned from the negative things and talking about him, like Murphy's a gay and saying all this kind of shit about, all these different people, Nation of Islam, Prince. He was going off, and I was trying to tell him, I was like, dude, when you get out, you can't be like, you can't think like this. You try to rehab, but you don't learn nothing. And your boy just got killed in the car, but he never learned. And before that, when he was free, one time I was writing about him. He kept me around for 3 days. Like the first day, he was supposed to interview me. He was like, no, you want some bitches? You want some weed? And I was like, okay, man, no. I'm just like, are you going to interview me? He's like, I get you a room. I extend your room for another day. So he extended my room for another day. Finally, on the third day, he's trying to give me some more hoes, some more drugs. And I was like, Suge, can you please? I'm like, come on, man. Like, can he just get the article? Finally, 3 days later, he did it. But, just being a hip hop is fun. I remember, one time, I'm gonna give you the best story. I'm gonna give you the best war story. So, because I know this is what you guys on the internet really want. Y'all want that shit.
Let's go.
And so, my girl, I gotta go see my girl after this, but she didn't know me then, so she had to just eat this one. So one time, I was in Chicago, and I'm not gonna say the name of the artist. It was a young up-and-coming, this was in Ohio, and a young up-and-coming artist, they flew me out there to come to the thing, because he wanted to be in the Source. The Source was the shit, people try to pay me and do whatever. And so, we went to the party, so a young artist, a dope dealer was funding the artist. Flew me out there, gave me a room, all of this, the Source was in the house, blah, 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 the thing, and we partying, they buy me drinks and blah, blah, blah. And so I get back to my room, and I'm like, okay, I'm chilling. I'm like, I'm tired. It's cool. It was fun. And then, you know.
Knock, knock, knock.
I'm like, I'm in Ohio. I don't know nobody in this motherfucker. And you've been through this life. And so I was like, yo, hello. And I looked in the peephole, and it was a young lady. It's a pretty famous young lady who's a well-known model now, but she was from that area. And she was
y'all
like,
research, and then y'all hit me with what y'all come up with.
She's a
he ain't gonna tell us on
voluptuous model, had a really nice body, and so she was on reality shows later. And at that time, she was not. I'm not sure what she was doing at that time, but this was a very well-known drug dealer in that city. And I was like, hello. She's like, well, yeah, such and such sent me for you. And I was like, what? And I opened the door, and she's like, well, I just came to see you and say hello. And then she's like, I'm a gift. And I was like, oh. I was like, well, Merry Christmas, you know. So, you know, it was
hey, man, working for the Source comes with his perks.
Let's just say it was a good night. Yeah. So, you know, a crazy war story. I know, you know, just one of the war stories.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, man, we appreciate you sharing and being so open with us as far as, you know, your journey. Nah, because we all grow, and you know what I mean? Hey, look.
Today I would have been like, oh my gosh, she's going to screenshot me or take a picture of me sleeping or something. You know, back then we didn't really care.
Double back on you, like, he pressured me.
Yes,
and lie about the whole shit. He was a powerful producer in Hollywood.
Yes. So yes, you know, we
be
live
careful
and learn.
with that.
Yeah, be careful.
Nowadays, but whoa, the glorious 90s, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you interview him, but let's pull your rap sheet over there.
Oh my
just
goodness,
in case for some of them memories, you know.
I'm a rapper though, so I'm supposed to have this type of stories. P, you're a journalist.
But you know, I think that one thing I always tell people though is a trip because we lived the same life. When Puff was in the club doing whatever, when Jennifer Lopez, that was there that night. I used to be in the club in the late 90s, 2000s. I used to see Donald Trump over here, Russell Simmons over here, all of the people, Chris Rock over here. And if there was a party, I've been in the tunnel where fucking DMX is on stage and and fucking Chris Lighty is at the door. Like, where you was at, I was at, because I was there to cover you. And so we're like the same thing. And we call it like hip hop adjacent.
No doubt.
You know? And you ever see that movie, what is the movie about the Rolling Stone kid?
I knew you was going to. One of my favorite movies. What's the name of that movie?
And he's a kid, he's backstage, he's doing whatever.
He basically rolls with
does it all. He's like a kid, he's like 16 years old. His mom is like, what are you doing? He's on the phone.
Almost Famous?
Yeah, Almost Famous. And so that's like the story of my life. You know, because it's funny, and people don't know this. Analogy. People don't know this, and there's a picture, I gotta find it, from Crazy Stephanie. There's a picture outside of the hospital in Las Vegas on like the second, like Pac got shot on a Thursday, whatever it was, Friday.
No, it was a Saturday.
Saturday, and then 1 week later, right?
Of a fight, yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple of days later, you guys are out front of the hospital. Like the whole week, people are patrolling outside of the hospital, and I see him there. I see Reginald Judge Jesse Jackson, Mike Tyson. There's a picture of me outside of the place, and there's Edie walking by, and Jacques is there, and everybody, because I covered Tupac's murder for the LA Times, and so the day after he got shot, I was actually there at the hospital, and then the Source cover story in '95, or '96 when it happened, I wrote that because I was actually there, and so, you know, you don't probably remember that because I don't think we really were talking then, but I was there and I saw you outside of the hospital. It was either day after the day, something like that, because you guys were walking back and forth, looking stressed. There's a lot of pictures of you guys, so yeah, you know, so it's a marathon, not a sprint, homie.
A journey, man, and your story is absolutely been an epic one. Will there be a P. Frank documentary? I mean, like, because you really could do one with the shit you've seen and know and been through.
At some point, I think it's still writing itself. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm at a place. It's funny because I've been talking about, there's a well-known artist that I'm doing his documentary, and he came out in the early 90s, and he's still popping now, but he was like, didn't want to do it because he felt like that makes him, and I do a show called Unsung, and a lot of times people think you're old after you do it or you played out, but you're not played out. So I'm still in the middle of my story. I'm in, like, you watch the movie, I'm probably like in Act 3. Like, I got about 30 more minutes in the movie yet to see what's gonna happen, you know?
No doubt. And Unsung is another show that you've been a part of. I've enjoyed many episodes of that show, and actually I felt like some of the people that you've done Unsung on had a career boost after that.
Oh, 200%. I mean, I've done Too Short, E40, Sheila E., Houdini, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Full Force, Arrested Development, Adina Howard, Ray J, and you mentioned Zap. Zap got a real big boost after the show. DJ Quick, after I did DJ Quick, his sales went up 200% the next day. And so it's been really good to do that show, and American Gangster as well, which we've done. And now we're doing, Hip Hop Homicides, which is basically a continuation. It's taking the biography plus the crime and doing it together. So.
And that's a real popular genre of TV right now. True crime is super popular right now.
It's people always going to know there's always going to be some shooting and killing in America, and you can fucking see it all over. Yeah. And when the president's a gangster, like Donald Trump, what you gonna do? That's real thug life.
America is gangster, man. Like this, where you think thug life came from and all of that shit. America is gangster as it gets, man, as displayed almost every day. P. Frank, I want to thank you for coming in and sitting with us. I ain't gonna take too much of your time. I know you got an appointment engagement. You got to in a few. Thank you again.
Man, I wanted to say though, before we do anything, I wanted to first say I'm so proud of you as a human being, as a man, as the grief and the things that you went through, and obviously I know we know each other, and it's just to see where you're at, and that you in a positive way, and that your health is good, and that you're still making music, and that you have a good way. I think as a person, as an elder, and that it's your job to tell these survivors. Our form is survivor stories, right? We tell these 100%. Stories about surviving and trying to thrive. So good to see you thriving, my brother.
No doubt, man. Appreciate it. Good to see you thriving as well.
Yeah. Check my new show.
Congrats again.
Yep, Hip Hop Homicides airs on WeTV in September. Executive produced by 50 Cent and Mona Scott Young. And the Freaking documentary dropping next year.
That I'm going to be a part of some kind of way, even if I'm in the background.
You're going to have some real war stories about that.
Man, y'all don't even... That's another whole other episode, man.
I'll come back when we do that, the Freaking episode.
We'll come back, man. Shit. Make sure y'all check out Hip Hop Homicides. Every time you see this man's name, you need to tap
at P. Frank Williams on everything, at P. Frank Williams. I don't have no aliases or little or middle or medium or whatever, motherfuckers be little baby, medium baby, or none of that shit.
You want TikTok?
I don't TikTok.
He going by his government.
I go by my government name, yeah.
Good luck to your Warriors, man.
Down business.
Cause I ain't a hater. Good luck to your Warriors, man.
We champions, we alright.
It's the Outlaw Show, man. We gone.
Love.
Everybody back off.
Put me down, try and put me down. I'ma hit him up like an outlaw. Combination, hit him with a southpaw. Knock him out in the first round, y'all. Voice of my city like town hall. Round more pounds and stray dogs. I can make a flood in a drought, y'all. Never gon' settle. All I do is get better. All I do is get cheddar. Pulling up, blowing pressure. Outlaw shit forever.